Hey, welcome to On the Path podcast with Cheryl Nembhard. Since I was a kid, I was told my conversations were way too deep. Well, now it's paying off. Join me and the names you know as we go deep into their personal stories of triumph, tragedy, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Friends, this crazy, overwhelming life we live calls for some serious encouragement and inspiration. So grab a cup of coffee and get your notebook because we're going into the classroom of life. So let's get lifted with faith-filled conversations. I'll see you on the path.
Watch in Canada on Yes TV and the Yes TV app, or watch on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Pioneer Network, Faith TV, and more in the US. Also watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel, brought to you by Compassion Canada.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of On the Path. I'm so excited that you've joined me today. As I always say, we are in the classroom of life. We are learning from incredible teachers who aren't just teaching from wisdom, but teaching from their lived experience, their broken pieces, their valley moments. From film stars to television stars to athletes to authors, speakers, we have been learning from incredible people. And let me tell you, we have a teacher of teachers in the building. This is someone I am calling a Shiro. She is one of my favorites, and I get to share her with you. I cannot wait for you to meet the powerhouse that is Nona Jones. Let me tell you a little bit about this woman. She is a preacher, business executive, author, and entrepreneur, and she's the CEO of the Nona Jones Company and a global ambassador for YouVersion. Her leadership experience includes roles at Meta, YouVersion, and she's also been featured on Good Morning America and Better Together. You may have seen her there. She's also the author of Killing Comparison, Success from the Inside Out, and The Gift of Rejection. And she and her husband, Pastor Tim, lead Open Door Church in Gainesville, Florida, and they have two incredible sons. And I'm excited to have her in the building. Please give a huge Canadian On the Path welcome to Nona Jones. Yeah. Let's go.
Oh, I'm so honored. Thank you.
I am beside myself that you were in the building. Nona, thank you for being on the path today.
Oh, this is my pleasure. It is my privilege. And I'm just honored that you've included me in what God is doing through you. And I'm just excited to get to talk about what the Lord has done.
Goodness, Nona. Let's settle in and talk about what the Lord has done, because it has been nothing but mind-blowing. I feel like sometimes you even feel like you're hanging on just in just trust and obedience, and just you must be amazed yourself when you look back and see what God's done.
Oh, without question. I often describe myself as a statistically improbable product of God's grace, because people look at me today and they walk into the seemingly successful chapter my life is on, and they just assume, well, her whole story must have been that way. But no, like I was born to a mom who didn't want to have children, and I experienced abuse of all types at both her hands and the hands of her boyfriend. And I remember being called all types of names when I was, young and going to school. I was given all types of labels like problem child. They said that I was mentally retarded. I mean, literally, these are labels that were placed on me. But I look back and I can see how the grace and the favor of God defined my life so much more than the labels that man tried to put on me. So, I'm just so grateful for what God has done.
Goodness. And if you could sum up your life, Miss Nona Jones, in a movie title, what would that be?
Oh man, it would be 2 words: but God. That would be it. that would literally be it. I got to tell you, I marvel. I truly do, because I spent many years working for a nonprofit organization that serves girls who are considered at risk for all types of issues, like, premature death, incarceration, drug addiction, system dependency. And I shared so many characteristics with those girls. I mean, we basically had an identical biography, but God, that's why I am where I am today. So I'm so grateful.
And when we look at sort of the landscape of your ministry, there's so many parts to it. I mean, you are a prolific speaker, a powerful leader, servant leader. I love your heart of servant leadership. You're apostolic in nature. You're giving birth to new ideas and visions. And you're an author, and your pen is as mighty as your preaching game. Let me just tell you that right now. Love it. I'm just like, whoo. It's very rare to kind of house all this gifting, and it's not even on my page, but I just feel God on this. Like, how do you navigate all of it?
Man. So, interestingly enough, I was talking to a friend the other day, and she attended a conference that I was speaking at. And she was just being very, very complimentary. And she was saying, wow, you did such a great job. You're such a great communicator. And the Lord took me back to when I was younger and reminded me of how for so long I stumbled over my words. I did not want to speak in front of people. I have a physical tongue tie where I cannot stick my tongue out completely. And that should technically prevent me from being able to speak articulately, but God. And so there's that, the idea of being able to write books. I never imagined that. But God. And so I've kind of lived my life believing that, look, if God says I can do it, I'm going to do it because I know I can't. So if God opens the door, I'm going to trust and believe that he has qualified me, even when I don't feel qualified. And I hope that's a word for somebody, because we are so quick to discount ourselves and disqualify ourselves from what God has called us to. But we have to remember, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And he oftentimes doesn't call the qualified, because if he did, they would take all the glory. When you know that you don't have the gifts, the skills, the abilities in and of yourself, except for God, you give him the glory. And that's what he's after.
Goodness. And, I want to kind of fast forward to your most recent book, The Gift of Rejection. I want you to talk to us a little bit about I've always just wondered, how did that book even come to be? And the B part of that is, how are you seeing that book being used now in the world?
Oh boy. So the book came to be in a very happenstance kind of way. So I was releasing my second book, Killing Comparison, and I will often just go on Instagram or Facebook and just record like a reel or just a minute 30-second thought about something I'm thinking about. And one particular day in the lead up to the book release, I was thinking about how, as I look back over my life, I could see that comparison shaped me in some very negative ways, but then I also could see how it actually shaped me for the better, because that comparison was really the result of being rejected by people, being told that I was ugly or being told that I wasn't good enough, having my mother choose her boyfriend who was abusing me over me. And I realized that through that experience, I built some resilience and some character that I would not have had I not had those experiences. And so I just happened to just record a video where I was saying, hey, when I think about it, I actually think rejection is a gift. And I posted it and it went viral. And it was just a random thought that I had. But the comments from people were just so heartfelt, where people were talking about their experiences with rejection and how it had been so painful for them, that I realized, okay, this is a subject that I think I need to talk about. Now, I will tell you, there was a very specific story, a very specific experience I had that the Lord used to actually show me how rejection is a gift. And what essentially happened is, when I was in high school, I was never the girl that guys wanted. I was always, I was overweight. I just wasn't very attractive. And so I didn't have a boyfriend for many years. But then a guy who I thought was really, really cute took interest in me. And I remember one weekend he was supposed to take me to the movies. And he called and he said, oh, something came up. I can't take you, family emergency. And so I got with some friends and I just said, hey guys, why don't we go to the movie? Because I was already dressed. I was ready to go. And we go to the movie theater and I'm standing in line with my friends and I look over and there's my boyfriend holding hands with another girl. And I felt so worthless in that moment. I mean, it broke my heart. I never even heard of cheating at that point, and I was disillusioned. I felt so used. And fast forward 15 years, I was working at Facebook, and a pastor friend of mine reached out and said, "Hey, can you help me get someone's page taken down?" And I thought that was strange. Like, I'd had people ask me to help get their page back up because it had been taken down by mistake by the system. And so I was like, why would you want me to do that? And he said, listen, one of my spiritual sons has a bunch of people making really negative comments on his page, and I just need help getting it taken down. So I said, look, I can't make any promises, but send me the link to the page and I'll send it to our systems team and see what they can do. Well, he sent me the link and I clicked on it, and up pops the picture of my ex-boyfriend from high school.
No.
And I remember looking at it, and it was like a Twilight Zone moment, because I was like, why am I looking at him? And so I scroll down on his page and I see comment after comment from people. Some people saying, serves him right, cheaters get what they deserve. Somebody else was like, how is he calling himself a pastor out here living a double life? And I was like, what happened? So I Google his name. Up pops article after article after article about him being murdered by his mistress, who also tried to kill his wife. Thank God his wife survived. But in that moment, I realized that could have been me. Like, all these years, I had been hurt because I thought he was cheating on me with that girl, but he could have been cheating on that girl with me. And I felt like, oh my gosh, this was such a horrible thing. I was so hurt. I was looking at it all wrong. That rejection actually could have ended up sparing my life. And so I think that realization is what placed me on the path to really asking God, show me how rejection in your hands is a tool for my good and your glory.
Goodness.
And that's what inspired the book.
Oh my goodness. I did not expect that story. I am blown away. How have you been seeing the book? Just give us just a little bit of like how it's landing with people, what you're hearing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
One of the things that I did to reward people who read the book, my email is actually included in the book. And I included it in the book because I wanted to hear from people. And I kid you not, every single day, I get countless emails from people just telling me how the book has changed their life, telling me how they had carried rejection wounds for years. They didn't even know what to call it. They just knew they felt like they were worthless. They just knew that they felt like nothing they ever did was good enough. And after reading the book, they now have a new vantage point from which to see and process their pain. And so it's just been incredible to see what God has done. And not just women, I mean, men too. I get emails from men, like
Nice.
older, gruff men who are like, this book changed my life. And so I see God's hand working in it and through it.
Oh, I love that. And I love what you said about those that are expressing feelings of low self-worth. And you talk about in your book that, rejection is not a reflection of our worth and how important it is to separate rejection from our identity. I'd love for you to unpack that because I think we still struggle with that. You're rejecting me. It must be me. There's something with me. And it just becomes a label that we can't seem to separate ourselves from.
Yeah, one of the realizations I had as I was kind of going through this journey to deeply understand both the root of rejection and how it manifests itself is that when people reject you, it's not as much about you as it is about them. So for example, let's say that you have your heart set on being invited to some exclusive event and, the host knows you, the host knows that you want to be invited, but they choose not to invite you. That's because of their own mental model that has nothing to do with you. And sometimes we take another person's choice personally. We think, well, if only I could be different, if only I could be better. But one of the things I've learned, and I talk about this at length in the book, is that you can do absolutely everything that somebody asks you to do, and they can still walk away from you. And that is because, again, it's not about you, it's about them. One of the things that I really am trying to get people to do, though, is when you experience rejection, allow it to sensitize you to the hurt of other people. because you've heard that statement, hurt people, but healed people heal people. The people who reject, especially when they reject you with malice and intent, are people who themselves were rejected. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to essentially make up for the pain of what they experienced by hurting you. You have to decide that is not how I'm going to live my life. And so I try my best to be very sensitive to the hurt of other people. I will include people in things just because I know what it's like to be excluded. I will go out of my way to try to make sure people feel seen and loved because I know what it's like to be overlooked and I know what it's like to be not wanted. And so that becomes a method of healing my own rejection wounds, is by being someone who accepts and heals other people.
Goodness. I'm just going to call the choir to come at this time, and we're going to be singing Put Me in E flat. Somebody is preaching in here. Did I miss the memo? Are we at a you can't even, Nona, it pours out of you. You are constantly pouring in, you are constantly lifting up. And I think that is your DNA. It's, it's that gift of exhortation. Like who does that for you? Who lifts you up? How do you get pulled back up again?
Wow. So I would say for the longest time, I wanted, and this I talk about this in the book, I wanted a spiritual mom for the longest time because my relationship with my mom being strained, not having that type of a mother figure in my life. And then God calls me to ministry and I didn't have a blueprint for it. And I remember for years just really wanting somebody to take me under their wing and be like, you are my spiritual daughter, but it never happened. I would get into conversations with others who are in my age group in ministry, and they would tell me all these stories about how their spiritual mom or spiritual dad took them on these trips with them and how they, spent time together and all this stuff. And I was like, man, I've never had that. And I remember one time being so upset. I went to God. I was so upset. I was like, God, I want a spiritual mother. I want somebody who can look out for me and teach me and guide me. And God said, Nona, you've had all these doors open for you, right? Did you ever have to submit a letter of recommendation for these doors to be open?
Come on.
And I was like, no. And God was like, right, because I've done it. And then he said, so why am I not enough?
Oh.
I was like, I'm so sorry.
The ladies' bazaar is selling fresh meals, hot meals, mac and cheese with, listen.
I was like, Lord, I am so sorry. And so I answer your question in that it has genuinely been God. It has been God.
Yes.
And one of the most interesting situations I have found myself in is throughout my entire life, I have always felt like I was in some way set apart, separated, in some way kind of isolated. And I would always be like, Lord, why is that? And God said, because I am a father to the fatherless. I lost my father shortly before my second birthday, and God has taken me under his wing. He has taught me everything I know. I've never been to seminary. He's taught me everything I know. He has opened doors that I could have never even known existed. He has connected me with people that nobody's connected me with. And so I would say that is God. And I'm really, truly trying to emulate for others who God has been for me. And he has been closer than a friend. He has been amazing. And I want that to be my legacy.
Well, if you're listening, if you're watching, you already know, but if you're listening, I am getting a bit emotional here. I'm getting quite gutted because those that know my story here, who track with me, know that I'm looking at a mirror. You're looking at someone who was witnessed to on the streets. I lived there for on and off for 3 years. I was escaping a brutal gang rape that happened in my life. I was rolling with a gang, and only rolling with a gang because I was broken and bitter and angry from child molestation. And I have literally walked this road thinking I've got an abusive mother, narcissistic, physical, and just very cruel. I have no father. I know this journey of God, this question of, am I not enough? And those moments of, yes, God, you are. And then those moments of wrestling, like I need a tangible. And you just have shown me that it is possible. It is possible to allow God to use you on this level with all those broken pieces. So thank you even for sharing that vulnerably.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that there are so many others who are like us, but because we often don't share the truth, people feel like it's just them. For many years, I honestly felt like I was damaged beyond repair. And I cannot tell you how many times I've stood up in a room and told my story, and people will come up to me and say, the same thing happened to me, and I've never told anyone. I believe that there are so many more people like us who just need the license to know, look, you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not damaged. Your brokenness is not a burden. Your brokenness is your ministry. There are people just like you who need to see you and hear your story to know that freedom is possible.
Man, I feel like this is a good segue into this next question, because there are people that are sitting in this moment and their hurts are real and tangible, but maybe they're coming from a different source. There are people that are listening, have landed here just by the providence of God, and you are hurt by the church. There are at church hurt is such a real thing. People are feeling rejection and hurt from the church. Any words of encouragement or wisdom of how we can navigate church hurt and not lose our relationship, our view of God?
Yeah. So, being that my husband and I pastor a church, I have a very tangible relationship with church hurt because we have a lot of people come to our church who have experienced that. And one of the things that I would say, and it's really important for us to remember this, is that the church is actually a hospital. And if you think about what a hospital is, it's a place where sick people go. It's a place where broken people go. And so when you go to a hospital, you're going to encounter people who are hurt because that's where hurt people go. Right. Sometimes I think in churches, we expect for everybody to be healed, everybody to be free. But the reality is, we all need Jesus as much as we all need Jesus. I tell people regularly, like, listen, I've even said this to our congregation many times. There may be times when I hurt you, when I disappoint you, and things that I say land with you in a way that's disappointing or discouraging. And I'm like, look, please just tell me, because the worst thing to have happen is to leave a church and have never said anything. Yes. And the people just think that you left because you didn't want to be there anymore. So I would say if you are carrying church hurt, just realize hurt people are everywhere. Hurt people are everywhere, but the church is meant to be a hospital. So find a place where there are physicians, there are spiritual physicians and spiritual nurses who will nurse you back to health. But recognize, and we have to be sober-minded about this, you're going to always find sick people at a hospital.
So good.
Just keep that mindset.
You're always going to find sick people at a hospital. So imperfect people who will make mistakes are all around us. So good. Gosh, Nona, thank you for that. You know, I've had this incredible journey. I think we're just in our fifth season, beginning our fifth season, and I've been able to sit with people that I know call you friend. I kind of teased out that your names come up a few times over here on the northern side. I've been able to speak with Priscilla Shire and Naomi Rain and Erica Campbell and Chad Veach and Dallas Jenkins and all these other people, and I've asked them this same question, and I feel like you're a poster child of this. How do you stay grounded while leading on such a high level? How do you do that? Because I'm talking to you, and there's not a vein bone in your body. How did you manage that?
Oh, it's easy. Like, I know without question that everything that I have, everything that I am, is a gift from the hand of God. There are people who are far more talented than I am in every way, who live their lives in anonymity. But God has chosen, for whatever reason, to give me a platform that has nothing to do with me. And I know that the day that I decide to make it about me is the day that he could take it away and prove that it's not about me. So that keeps me completely grounded. And I just maintain a sense of awe that God has decided to use me. I know how undeserving I am. I know how, God, he's just so gracious. He's so merciful. And that, for me, that just is what anchors me, is just recognizing that, man, God could have chosen anybody and he can still choose somebody else later today. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. So I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for what he does. And I try to live my life in such a way that he is pleased.
I love that. And I'm so thankful for that heart, because we're blessed by that. And you are being watched, like everything you do. It's good. It's not good. It's fair. It's not fair. But you just have shown a real authentic, transparent, humble way of living, that I pray so many model from. So thank you for that. I'm going to flip it, because I feel like now that I've heard this, I know what you're going to say. So I'm going to say 2 words to you. Just say whatever comes to your mind.
Okay.
Celebrity Christian.
That is such the antithesis of what it means to be a Christ follower. Now, here's the thing. People can make you a celebrity, right? So people made Jesus a celebrity. That's why he entered Jerusalem triumphantly upon the palm branches and the whole thing. Oh my gosh, it's Hosanna, Hosanna, that whole thing. And then he's hung outside of the same city. You know what I mean? People will make you something because they choose to, but then they will also crucify you within the same week. So I think that we have to do exactly what Jesus did, which is he opposed celebrity. He would heal people and he would say, tell nobody. When the crowds would gather, he would say what he needed to say and then he would depart. He wasn't, interestingly enough, he wasn't trying to make a name for himself. He was doing the will of the Father. And that's one of the things that I really think that we have to, as Christians, especially those who have been given a platform or influence of any sort, we have to be really intentional about making sure that we're making God's name bigger than ours. God gave me an instruction some years ago, because I was working at Meta and I was around famous people all the time. And I remember taking pictures with people and posting them on Instagram and, basically being like, oh, I'm so excited to meet this person, or, oh, look who I'm with. And one day God said, stop doing that. And I was like, why? What's wrong with that? And God said, your heart isn't right. And I had to look at myself and I had to question, why am I doing this? What is my motivation? And when I got honest, my motivation was I was trying to take some vicarious value from being associated with that person. And God said, you will have no other God before me. You will not derive any sense of value or validation from any man. So stop posting those pictures. Now, some people can post the pictures and they're fine, but I know God called that out of me because he needed to humble me. And I haven't done it since.
Nona, you were talking about leadership just now, and how you balance it all. And the pressures of leadership can be so overwhelming. I would love to know, talk to us a little bit about the importance of boundaries. How do you set boundaries? How do you protect your peace?
How much time we got? So boundaries are absolutely critical. I think that they become a little more difficult as you become a leader, because you're responsible for more than just yourself. If you were only responsible for you, it's very easy to say no because you're only responsible for you. When you are a leader, chances are you're responsible for other people and you're responsible for systems. And so, you do have to be available, and that's just the price of leadership. However, your availability should not come at the cost of your health. And so one of the things that I've started to implement, and I've done this for years now, probably the last 15 years of my career, is at least on a quarterly basis, I will get away for a few days and I'll have what I call a strategic thinking retreat. This is just my time to just think about all that I'm carrying, all that I'm handling, to just inventory it all so I can decide whether or not the thing on my plate is serving my season. And taking that time has been one of the most valuable investments I have made as a leader, because once I get to the other side of doing that assessment, I can either remove things from my plate or I can set appropriate boundaries so that I'm able to focus on what's the most important right now.
That's so good. And I love this question that I've been waiting to ask you this, because I feel like you are very Jeremiah in your calling. You've lived out the lessons first before you've shared them. I always say that storms are our greatest teachers. It's never the mountaintop. It's never the mic drop. It's never the lights. It's always in the valley. It's in the hard stuff that we meet God, that we're changed, transformed, all the things. What if the rock bottom moments of your life, Nona, taught you about Nona? Taught you about God, and maybe taught you about community, others. Yeah.
So I think what they have taught me about myself, and this is going to sound cliche, but it's true, is that I need Jesus. I think the most rock bottom I ever was at the ages of 9 and 11 when I actually tried to take my life. And I did not grow up in a Christian home. I didn't even know anything about what happens on the other side of death, but I knew that what I was experiencing was incredibly painful. And I figured that death would just be better, whatever that was. And as I reflect on that, I realized that the reason why I even got to that place is because I had lost hope. I think when you don't have hope, it's so easy to give up because you have no reason to keep pushing. But that's why we need Jesus, because when Jesus is our hope, and that's what he is, Jesus is hope, we have a reason to live. We have a reason to continue on. We have a reason to believe that what lies in front of us is better than what lies behind us. And so I know that I need Jesus. And what it has taught me about God is that God is faithful. I can look back on every rock bottom moment that I've had, and I can see that that was just a temporary moment, because God brought me out of it. And he did just bring me out of it, but he actually brought me out of it better than I was before I went into it. And so God is faithful. And I think when it comes to community, that's absolutely essential. Being able to have people who can encourage you, people who are for you. And that may not always be in the form of family. Sometimes it's in the form of friends. I'm an only child and I don't have a close relationship with my actual family. I have one aunt that I'm close with, but I don't have a close relationship with the rest of my family. But I do have friends who will encourage me, who will check on me, who will pray with me and for me. And I think that's so necessary to endure when things get hard.
Oh my goodness. I'm literally looking at a mirror. I'm an only child too as well. Whew, there's so much there. There's so much there, because when you're in a toxic, abusive situation, who do you go to? There's no one.
There's no one.
No father, no brother, no sister. Yes, that's a whole other thing for another time. But just as we kind of like wind down, I've got just a question and a half, but here, to the person who's listening, who's at their current rock bottom, you would say what, Nona, to them?
I would say, number one of the things that I started to do a long time ago, and I would encourage you, is pray Psalm 25. Psalm 25 is a psalm that will not only ignite hope in you, but it will allow you to speak life over yourself and your situation, because it really speaks about trusting in the Lord. It speaks about how, God entrusts his ways and his path to those who hope in him. And it says things like, those who hope in the Lord will never be put to shame. So it's speaking those words, those true words over your life, over yourself, until they get deep down on the inside of you and you believe it. The first time you pray it, you're probably going to just be saying words. But as you pray it day by day by day, it'll strengthen your faith and it will strengthen your resolve. So pray Psalm 25. And I encourage you to remember that everything is temporary, but the love of God is eternal. These situations, they seem like things that will never get better. They seem like things that will never change. I promise you they will. And the love of God and the grace of God is strong enough to help you endure. So just place your faith in him and he will honor you and he will reward you and he will never leave you. He will never forsake you. Even when you feel like you are lonely, you are never alone because God is with you.
Amen. Whew. And the church said, amen and amen again. Goodness, there's so many ways I wanted to end this, but I'm going to pull one last question, and then I have a little bonus surprise question for you, which I didn't tell you about. I know you're good for it though. I'm going to catch you red hot in the current wave of your life today. You posted something. And I get to be the first in line here. You posted just today on your Instagram this quote: "You can repair spiritual brokenness. You cannot repair spiritual brokenness with physical tools."
Yeah.
Please unpack that.
Yeah. What tends to happen is we'll feel exhausted, we'll feel overwhelmed, we'll feel anxious, we'll feel depressed. And then we say, I just need to take a vacation, or I need to go to the spa, or I'm just going to go shopping, or I'm going to buy myself a new car. And we do all of those things. And shortly after we do them, we find that we're right back where we started. And when that happens, you have to realize that you're not dealing with a physical issue. You're dealing with a spiritual issue. When your soul, and we have to realize we're tripart beings. We're a spirit who has a body, and we have a soul, and we live in a body. So when your spirit is trying to give life to your body, but you're so busy trying to keep your body moving, and your spirit is like, look, I'm exhausted. Your soul gets weary. That's when your emotions start to get out of whack. That's when you find your mind preoccupied with thoughts that are negative and toxic. And that's when you're doing things that you're like, I really wish I wasn't doing this, but I don't know how to stop. That means that there's something broken in your spirit. And so you got to get before God. You got to get before God. Stop trying to fix it with the things that look good on the outside, because that doesn't change what's happening on the inside of you. And so that's really what that means is when you realize that the exhaustion and the anxiety and those things are persisting, it's because it's spiritual brokenness, and you can't fix that with physical tools.
Nona Jones, you are a breath of fresh air in what has been stale. In the Big C Church, you are just blowing truth. You are unapologetic and unwavering. Your voice is loud, clear, and it is resonating, sis, all over the globe. I'm just cheering you on. And what I love is that now I know that God can really use someone like me, because you are living. You're literally a mirror of all that I've gone through. So that is so encouraging for me. Thank you for being on the path with us, sis.
This has been wonderful. And I would say to you that you are proof that God is a redeemer. So stay encouraged. Keep doing what you're doing. God's hand is all over you. And I appreciate just how you're allowing him to shine through you.
Goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to go float on out of here, people. But before I do, I've got a surprise question for you. I ask all my guests this. This is the way I end. And no matter how many times I ask this question, the answer is completely different and powerful. So in light of our conversation, everything we've shared kind of as the backdrop, finish this sentence.
Okay.
Nona, it's time for what? It's time for what?
I feel like it's time for rest. It's time for rest. I think that we're in a society, we're in a culture that is so busy that we are not actually taking advantage of the promise that Jesus made, which was that if we are willing to be yoked to him, that he will take our burdens, and in exchange, he will give us his easy, light yoke. And many of us are not experiencing that because we're so busy that we're not resting in Jesus. And so I think it's time to rest.
So good. I'm going to flip it on you. What is it not time for?
I think it is not time. There's one word that was floating through my mind.
Yeah.
I think it's not time for compromise.
Whew.
I think we have to know who we are. We have to know whose we are. And we have to be willing to stand in that identity, even when the world says that that's not politically correct or that's not how it should be. I think that we have to be completely confident in who we are as disciples of Jesus.
As we say, Selah in the Bible, think on these things. I pray that everything that has been shared, you are reflecting on. Guys, listen to this podcast, watch it, share it. There is so much in here for us to dig deep and feed on. Nona, thank you for being on the path. We love you here in Canada. Can't wait for you to come over sometime.
Believe me, I can't wait to come back.
Bring your winter coat, bring your boots, bring everything.
Will do. Thank you.
Oh, goodness. Thanks for being on the path.
Thank you for listening to On the Path with Cheryl Nembhard, brought to you by Compassion Canada.